long ago it should have been done. We're rapidly defeating inflation by reducing energy costs and even slashing the price of eggs by 50%. Doesn't sound like much, believe me. Then when I got here, I was in 1 week, and I was being hit by the fake news media. They were saying, egg prices have quadrupled. They said, I just got here. I didn't even know. I said, what's the problem with eggs? But the problem with eggs was Biden. That was the problem. He let them get out of control. And as you probably saw last month, they went down 35%, and the quantity is so much that I think they're going to go down a lot further. We have a total of over 50% in a few weeks, Lindsay. I'd say that's pretty good. And nobody wants to talk about it. Now they don't want to talk about it. They talked about it when it went up under somebody else, but when it went down under me, they don't want to talk. So we have to talk ourselves. If they won't say it, we have to say it, right? I learned that a long time ago. We're fighting for parents' rights and school choice, and we're stopping schools indoctrinating children with gender ideology, something which the people in this room are not happy about. And it's a shame what's happened, but we're turning it around at levels that nobody can even believe. I signed an order also, and I think very importantly, also in particular for people in this room, we're keeping men out of women's sports. Is that okay? Men out of women's sports. The Muslim community was there for us in November, and while I'm president, I will be there for you. I'm going to be there for you, and I think you know that, and our two great mayors understand that. I said that I would see you after, and I saw you after, and I think you're doing better than we are. You're doing better than anybody. So it's so great. I'm so glad you're here. But as we approach the end of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, we're also deeply honored to be joined by many of the international friends and partners, including the ambassador from Saudi Arabia to the United States, a very, very special woman, Princess Rima. Princess, thank you. Great to see you. Thanks as well to the ambassadors and chiefs of mission from the United Arab Emirates, from Jordan, Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, Pakistan, Malaysia, Brunei, Bahrain, Iraq, Oman, Morocco, Indonesia, Algeria, Djibouti, Cameroon, Lebanon, Nigeria, Guinea, Tanzania, Kenya, the Maldives, Libya, Senegal, Bangladesh, and we have a few others. I'm sorry I've forgot, but I am going to be in big trouble if I did. But that's a pretty good group of people represented tonight. Wouldn't you say, Senator? Thank you. I'm greatly honored by your presence this evening. I just really want to thank you all. It's a special group. I look forward to it. You know, we have long days, not like other people that have this position. I work long hours. And I said tonight, after making 3 calls for people running for office, they go in teletown halls, and they're not easy to do. And I said, well, now I go home and can relax. They said, no, you can't, sir. You're seeing your friends from lots of different places, and that's okay. As soon as I found out who they were, I said, all right, that's okay. But Ramadan is a season of spiritual reflection and self-restraint. Every day during the sacred 9th month of the Islamic calendar, Muslims fast from dawn to dusk, deepening their focus on prayer and devotion to God. So nice. Then Muslims all over the world join family and friends each night and sundown to give thanks to the Almighty and break their fast with an IFTAR dinner, just like this one. This is what we have tonight, right, Paul? I hope you like it. If you don't like it, don't complain, okay? You're still in the White House, right? We're all in the White House together. So how bad can that be? So tonight we gather with the goodwill and the gratitude for God's many blessings, and that's what it's all about. This tradition exemplifies the beautiful spirit of all 3 Abrahamic faiths, and the spirit that inspires us to seek happiness and prosperity at home and peace for the entire world. We're all looking for peace for the entire world. When I was in Michigan, I met with so many leaders of faith, and I said, what about your attitude here, your attitude there, all of the attitudes and all of the things I heard? They said, sir, all we want is peace, right? Remember, Mr. Mayor? I said, but I understand you don't mind death. They said, no, sir, we want to live. We want to live, and we want to be happy, and we want to love everybody. And I actually, it was a very inspirational period of time for me. And I want to thank you also for introducing me to so many of your friends. It was absolutely incredible. Thank you very much. To our Muslim friends, I look forward to working with each of you to achieve a brighter and more hopeful future. And I think together we're going to do great. You're going to make strides like you've never made. Have somebody in the White House that loves you. Thank you all very much. And now we'll have a little dinner. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm doing a live stream on YouTube. This is March 27th. This is the night show. Trump just was speaking at a dinner that just ended with his speech. We're going to cover the news and anything that evolves. We're already in the Asian trading session to see how tariffs and that whole tariff policy, especially with auto tariffs, gets digested within the Asian markets. There was some talk about Japan, trying to figure out what they were going to do with their retaliation tariffs. So we'll see how the trading evolves throughout this broadcast. Thank you for watching the live stream on YouTube tonight. I also have X Spaces open if you have a question or you want to voice your opinion about what's going on in the news. This is an interactive show, so please go to X Spaces, ask for the mic, and you are live on the show. So thank you for joining. I greatly appreciate it. Please help support my work by making sure you subscribe to all the channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please subscribe to all 7 channels. It's really important for me to reach an audience to explain how to improve your health, and also my opinion on what's going on in the news, internationally or even in the United States. A great product that I have is the structural nanosilver soaps. I have 4 different types. You can get it in lavender, in peppermint, and also in charcoal tea tree and lemongrass. Get a couple bars for your household or a few bars for your household. Help support my work. It's very high quality structural nanosilver soaps. These are the soaps that I use. And help support your health and wellness and help support the channel by purchasing the products. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Another great product that I have before we go to the different news feeds here is the Max 14 or the Max 35. This is the first pillar of my 4-pillar core protocol. Take a teaspoon a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle about 20-30 seconds, and then swallow. It's going to improve your immune system. Take it every day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. And then once you start feeling better, then go back to your maintenance dose. But take this every day. It's very important to improve your immune system. So with that said, let's go to, I want to play new arrest of pro-Hamas students sparks more protests. So let's go to Fox News about this.
Heavenly beauty unfolds on stage. A lost civilization revived. Experience China's 5,000 years of...
And the situation remains tense at Columbia University, and that's where we find Alexis McAdams. Hello, Alexis.
Hi, Shannon. I have not left Columbia University, it feels like, in days, because there are still protests out here and the investigations continue by the Trump administration. But out there in Massachusetts, that student taken into custody by ICE and the whole thing caught on camera. So that's just part of that arrest video. Ramesa Otzerk, who's on your screen, detained near her Somerville, Massachusetts house as ICE agents pulled in, arrested her. She's a Turkish national who is also a doctoral student at Tufts University. Protests near the school as people are demanding her release. Her legal team telling me, Shannon, they are not aware of any official charges at this time. She was reportedly not a leader of the pro-Palestinian movement at Tufts, but she did write an opinion essay, okay? It was published last year, almost exactly a year ago, in the Tufts student newspaper, writing in part some things about criticizing the university for their lack of response, she says, and told the president they needed to acknowledge the Palestinian genocide, but now she has lost her visa. Why? Because DHS officials say supporting terrorism and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds to get your visa pulled. Where is she now? Well, according to the online ICE locator, she's out in Louisiana at an ICE facility. It's not too far from the same place where Columbia activist Mahmoud Halil is being held. Despite a judge's ruling that she not be moved from Massachusetts, that's where she is now. So we're looking into that. Back out here live. The ICE crackdowns continue on campus with more arrests popping up. And we've done some reporting, Shannon, about this ongoing lawsuit by the families of Hamas hostages who are suing pro-Palestinian protesters here at Columbia, saying they knew about the October 7th attack before it even happens. We're trying to learn more about that lawsuit, Shannon.
All right, we look forward to hearing what you find out. Alexis, thank you very much. So for more, let's bring in Charles Love, Executive Director of Seeking Educational Excellence and co-host of the Cut the Bull podcast. Charles, good to see you today.
Great to be on. Great to see you again.
Okay, so where do we go from here? You have these protests now on campus. The neighbor whose surveillance camera caught that arrest of this Tufts student said it looks like a kidnapping. Does the administration run the risk of the optics of this turning against them while they're doing something that I think most Americans would support? If you can prove somebody is here and supporting protest terrorist activity, we don't want them here.
Well, they definitely run the risk of that, but I don't think they are too concerned about that, and they shouldn't be, in the sense that each case has to be taken individually. So we'll look at what she wrote and what the protesters are doing and kind of define whether it crosses the line. And I do know that there is some nuance there. So if you look at these two most prominent cases, I don't know, I didn't read her letter, so I don't know what she wrote. So it's a difference between saying we think what's happening in Palestine is a genocide, and in the other guy's case, who openly said, death to the West, and he wants to, destroy the Western civilization. And I think that one is clearly a reason to not have that person in the country, and the other, you kind of have to look at it case by case.
And certainly we're seeing a difference in tone from these universities. Columbia University, where Alexis has been reporting, as she said, for a long time, clearly coming to an understanding with the Trump administration when they were set to lose hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding, that they will do a better job of cracking down on these anti-Semitic protests by anything that looks like it's supporting terrorist activity. What about other colleges? Will that be enough to sort of scare them into action? Or do you think we're going to have to see more of these direct settlements and negotiations?
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see, because I don't feel, too much love lost for the administration in many of these cases, but they're in a pretty difficult predicament where on the one hand, they're trying to, kind of give in a bit because they know things have gone too far. And let's be honest, they probably want some help, someone they can blame it on and say it's not our fault, because they want to rein this in because they lost control. But at the same time, the students are still moving further down the road. Like in Columbia's case, the students and some of the professors are suing, the Trump administration at the same time the administration of the university is kind of, meeting with the administration and deciding to agree with some of those terms. So they're going around them. So they're stuck in the middle, kind of like, what do we want to allow or what do we not want to allow? But I will quickly say, I'm on the elected school board here in New York, apparently at CECs, and we've had activists every month, attacking us and things of that nature. They just celebrated their 1 year. Now, it's the difference between saying bad things to us and what we saw on those college campuses, attacking people, physically threatening them, blocking their access to school. So that can't be tolerated. So they have to stop that, whether it agrees with Trump or not.
True. Okay, so there's also this. Violence against conservatives on college campuses is growing. A chapter president for Turning Point USA was apparently assaulted at the University of Texas in Dallas. This was captured on video and shared by the group's founder, Charlie Kirk. Here's a little bit of that. Listen in. Yeah, and what you see in that video there is apparently someone swinging what appears to be a pretty heavy bike lock at someone else. And that student who was on the receiving end of this recounted for ordeal on Fox last night.
I said 0 words to him at all. And so that's what's the most like part that I don't understand is how can I say 0 words? I'm just tabling with my officers as I do every week. I said 0 words to him and he started attacking me. He swung the bike lock, it hit our table, our phones were destroyed, and my head was severely injured.
So that incident comes as we're seeing the dangerous trend of these swatting calls targeting conservative commentators and influencers. One author and columnist was woken up at 1 a.m. at his home in Alabama to officers, 3 of them with their guns drawn. Here's how he describes how it went down.
I can only see silhouettes of them. And thanks to my dog, I saw them before they saw me. They came in, as they described it, blacked out, meaning no lights on their cars, no sirens. And here it is, 1:15 in the morning. I'm thinking I'm out being a firefight. But this is definitely terrorism. And this is an attempt to use local law enforcement as proxy assassination squads.
Yeah, we know that it puts the law enforcement officer in danger as well. Every one of them is called to these events. But Charles, to the campus idea and to the swatting, have we just gotten to a point where people cannot tolerate a viewpoint different than their own?
Yeah, these are terrible crimes and they need to be prosecuted as such. And it goes beyond, I mean, obviously it's more of a political ideology and they're basing this on the person's political views, but it goes beyond that. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were calling parents who cared about what happened to their kids in school domestic terrorists. And now we're at a point that because you don't like someone's views, you're okay with violent and criminal activity. That's completely insane. And as you say, swatting people is not the same as, it's not just, like that gentleman said, a possible assassination attempt. You're threatening neighbors, bullets can go through windows, you're threatening local police. It's a violent situation. And same thing with attacking the cars, attacking owners of a Tesla because you don't like Elon Musk as if the owners are violent. This has got to be stopped.
Yeah. All right, Charles, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the fun.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the very high quality deodorants that I have on my store. You can get it in citrus or in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. These deodorants are dual purpose. They act as a deodorant, but also help to detoxify your body. It has no aluminum, has no baking soda. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. Very high quality ingredients in these deodorant bars. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get a couple bars for your household, help support my work, and help support your health. Get the deodorants. It's for males and females. It's dual purpose, helps to detoxify your body, and you're using it as a deodorant daily. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. Get the deodorants, use discount 5, and you get $5 off. All right. What I want to do now is play, I think this is Cottrell here.
All right, joining us on set, partially, and some remote, David Malpass, former president of the World Bank. There he is. We have John Carney here, Breitbart Finance and Economics editor and co-author of the daily Breitbart Business Digest. And special guest, very special guest, Arkansas Congressman French Hill, who was chair of the House Banking Committee, Financial Services Committee, but it's a very big deal. French Hill, am I wrong in questioning this? Am I wrong in thinking that maybe the reciprocity idea is going down the drain? And, when you look at steel and aluminum and copper and chips and lumber, all of a sudden it doesn't seem like reciprocal. It just seems like bang, 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 and I don't know what's happening next.
Well, I think you're right. I think your outline was really good. I really support trade diplomacy. I think it's very, very important. We saw that back when you and I worked in both the Reagan and the Bush administration. We used trade diplomacy extensively by doing investigations of chip dumping by the Japanese or auto parts from the Japanese. So it works, and we can remove tariff and non-tariff barriers. But one of the strengths President Trump has coming into office is the issue of reciprocity, particularly among the developed world. And you're right, before he was even sworn in, the European Union was thinking about cutting their auto tariff to our level or below. And so I think that's the leverage that we have. Reciprocity, I think it improves trade relations. I think it opens up markets for American business.
You know, John Carney, just like, I guess if I were the Beatles, I would say give reciprocity a chance. Like, yeah, that's how I would put it. And it kind of seems like this closes the door on it. This car thing, 25%, you got 25% of these other things, steel and lumber and chips and copper and so forth. And I'm concerned about that. Among other reasons I'm concerned is I thought reciprocity was easily understood, common sense wise. You know, it's like, you hit me, I'm going to hit you. You tax me, I'm going to tax you back. You tax me less, and I will tariff you less. I think the general public can understand that. This, on the other hand, you know, seems like game, set, match, bam, 25%. And I don't know, I have a sense this one might scare people, but what do you think?
So I think that you hit on something in your introduction that was really important. We actually produce very little parts of any cars in the United States. It actually comes down to just 25% of cars are really made in the United States. 50% are straight out imports.
25% of all cars.
Of all cars. That purchased in the US, 25%. Because we import around 50% of cars just in as a whole. And then 50% of the cars, the numbers you just showed, 50% of the cars that we supposedly make here really come from abroad. This is actually why they're doing this, partly under national security, because they are worried that if we really are that dependent on importing all of these cars, what happens if a war breaks out?
Exactly.
What happens if we can't rely on those imports anymore?
See, people need to realize that not only do we need to have these tariffs to bring back manufacturing to the United States to build the middle class, to build up that economic clustering, so individuals that are younger can start their career and build families and purchase homes. It starts with the middle class, and it's all about the manufacturing base. Big problem that we have in the United States is family creation is pushed off almost a decade compared to previous generations, and individuals aren't buying homes because they can't afford it. Well, a big part of that is because the manufacturing base is gone. It's been shipped overseas to other countries the last 35 years. That's a big part. So if you have tariffs and you give incentives to build manufacturing back in the United States, these facilities, then more people will be employed and it'll strengthen the middle class. So that's one big reason. Another big reason is that when we go to war with China, we are going, it's not if, it's when. When we go to war with China, we're going to have to be self-reliant because we got way too many of our supply chains in Asia. So America needs to wake up. For us to build up our military prowess and our own self-reliance and to build the middle class, we need to do these tariffs to bring back the manufacturing base to the United States.
So quickly from reciprocity, and I think that's why it's linked to lumber, why it's linked to copper, why it's linked to steel and aluminum, because these aren't necessarily just trade tariffs. These I would think of as national security tariffs.
David Malpass, are you surprised at the 25% car tariff? Is there a risk that it'll break up USMCA? And in general, what you make of it?
Hi, Larry. There's a huge risk to MCA, USMCA, the Mexico-Canada deal. But that's okay. The world's got to move forward. There's a giant trade problem. It's a national security problem. So the one thing I'd add, and I think Chairman Hill said it very well, but it's going to take time to get us back into the business of producing the parts that are needed within automobiles, within defense equipment. We need to have training programs in the U.S. for education system where kids actually learn to do math and reading. And so that's going to take some time. So the one thing that's surprising me is the suddenness of it, because people, markets, companies are really good at adjusting, but they need a few days to do it. And same with the diplomacy on a global basis. There's got to be discussion and with countries as the U.S. adjusts the world trading system to one that puts America first.
See, French, there's a couple important points here, which you all have mentioned. I like reciprocity because there was a negotiation to it. And Trump is a master negotiator, so I felt quite confident. But suddenly there's no negotiation. That might change and he might come back, but at the moment. The other thing is, in terms of changing it, John Carney talks about national security, which is an important element in some of this or all of this. It's going to take a while to change all this, okay? And particularly in the North American, what I thought was the North American free trade zone. Boy, there was blood, sweat, and tears when Mr. Lighthizer negotiated that. I was on his team. He's a brilliant guy. I hate to see it all fall down before we get the full benefits of it.
Yeah, I mean, my view is on both points, on the national security point, but also specifically on autos, steel, aluminum, things that are important to the president, important to the manufacturing base of this nation for both autos, but also national security. It takes time to see those results. So they're not politically connected. If you want to change content, American content in that North American USMCA, we ought to use the USMCA to achieve that, which is what President did in his first term with Ambassador Lighthizer with your policy direction. We increased the percentage of American-made content in the definition of North America. So that's point one. We should do that, and he should lead it, and he can, I think, achieve that. Secondly, Mexico and Canada have the ability to limit that non-North American content coming into their own countries, completely compliant, in my view, with WTO and the agreement. They could limit Chinese components, for example, coming into Mexico before they would go into a finished product.
Larry, I think actually that we are going to see, we saw at the beginning they're saying we're going to allow the US-Mexico compliant, US-Mexico-Canada agreement compliant stuff to come in at first without tariffs. I think we will see those countries say, look, we will do a better job of policing our own manufacturing to make sure that it really is made in North America, not coming from China, not coming from anywhere else, that it's made in North America. And I think we'll see eventually that stuff will be exempt from the 25% tariff if it really does comply with the USMCA.
Okay, I think that was very ambiguous. I read the fact sheet. It just sounded like they were doing some value added calculations, and I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you're right, John. I hope you're right. I just think it's very interesting. So the number one domestic content maker for cars in this country is Tesla. Okay, and actually they've gone up from 77% 10 years ago to 81%. The number two is, wait for it, Honda. I love that. And they've gone from 50 to 63%. By the way, I was privy to some of the negotiations from the late, great Shinzo Abe and President Trump, who forced that. Now, the American car is going in the wrong direction. Ford has gone from 65 to 54 domestic.
That's the
content.
problem.
GM has gone from 66 to 54.
Exactly.
I think GM stock got hit
Exactly.
the
This is the problem. Now think about who's advertising on the mainstream media. These car companies. GM advertises is a huge advertising budget. Huge. All right. The same thing with Ford. And what they want is to be able to go to their tier one supplier and say, have your manufacturing in Canada or Mexico. Send the sub-assemblies back to the United States where it will be assembled in the United States. But what's happening is that for them to get more margin on their vehicle, they're forcing the tier one supplier to manufacture in Canada and in Mexico because of the labor arbitrage. Now, part of the problem is that these are union plants. So some car plants that are foreign are non-union. So I've seen non-union plants for Nissan, all right? They work very efficiently, and you're gonna see more content in those vehicles because the cost to make the vehicle is less, all right? In the union plants, like GM, and Ford, the way they get around the union contract in terms of the escalated cost structure is to have the tier one make parts and sub-assemblies in Canada or Mexico and then have them shipped to the United States to try to offset the burden of the labor costs from the union. All right, that's a part of the problem, right? It's not the only part of the problem, but it's a piece of it. Okay, so if you have people that are working on the line in automotive, maybe you have 1,000 people on the line. Now, of course, you have admin staff and and other workers at the plant. But let's just say you have 1,000 or even 2,000 people on the line that are union. Okay, the amount of people that are employed at the tier one level is much higher to make all these pieces and do these sub-assemblies, and then to have it shipped over to the plant for it to be fully assembled. So the union is taking care of these auto workers at these plants, 1,000, 2,000 people at a plant, and thousands, tens of thousands of people at the tier one level and tier two and tier three level. They're not taken care of. All right. So what happens is the union is only protecting these workers that are on the line, but it's actually hurting the middle class and our manufacturing base, forcing the domestic OEMs, GM and Ford, to make their sub-assemblies in Mexico or Canada. All right. For the transplant type OEMs like Honda or Toyota or even Daimler, they're coming into the United States, building up plants and working with the tier one suppliers and trying to improve their content to be more of the United States domestic production. All right. Some of that is because they don't have a union plant. All right. And not only that, they are wanting to have a more politically aligned business plan to be able to sell vehicles in the United States. So it's pretty smart on what Honda's doing, trying to increase domestic production content in the United States for these vehicles. So if someone, so you're hearing in the news, oh, tariffs are bad, and tariffs are bad for GM and Ford because they've been playing the arbitrage game for the last 35 years. Now, part of it is because of these union contracts. The other part of it is that they're trying to squeeze that margin amount to be able to have a higher share price on Wall Street. Now, they even spun off like Visteon, they spun off Delphi, and their components divisions. Visteon used to be the automotive components division for Ford, but that was Visteon. And then Delphi was the automotive components division for GM. They spun them off because some bean counter said it would be cheaper to not have them on the books. Well, what happened was Delphi actually went belly up. And Visteon is still around, but the thing is that they're not as strong as they used to be. All right. So literally a big chunk of the design capability of GM that came from Delphi is gone because of stupid policies, because a part of the reason is because the union forced the bean counters at GM to come up with these strategies to spin off units and to have manufacturing in other countries. So yeah, that auto worker may have a higher rate because of their union contract, but part of that union contract has caused this problem. To say that it didn't is that they're not paying attention to history. Now, they try to protect plants and make sure that the plant is producing vehicles in the United States, but they don't care about the content that's going on. the actual amount. You get way more job creation from the sub-assemblies than the actual final assembly of the vehicle. Way more jobs. I mean, tens of thousands of jobs from the tier 1 suppliers for one vehicle versus trying to save 1,000 jobs at a plant that does the final assembly. So these union contracts actually hurt the middle class in the larger scheme of things.
That's a day, but Ford was probably a close second. The rest of it's a day in the country. Hyundai, Kia, 17%, Nissan, 24%, Toyota, 29%. VW better. I want to give them credit. VW has gone. Hold on. Stop the presses. They've gone from 8.2% 10 years ago to 35% domestic content here in the U.S. So we'll give VW at least 2 cheers, if not quite 3 cheers.
I think it's a scandal that we spent so much money and broke the law, frankly, to bail out the auto companies not that long ago.
Yeah.
And
He's totally right about that. It's totally right. He is 100% right on this. You have NAFTA that shipped jobs away, destroyed our manufacturing base. Lehman happens, and GM needed a major, and also Chrysler, GM needed a major bailout. They went bankrupt. They had to go through a restructuring. Ford was having problems, but they were able to finance through the bond market right before Lehman. So it kind of weathered the storm. But the thing is that they had a major bailout during the Lehman crisis. And this is what GM does. They'll through their marketing strategy and having these economic consultants to go on air and say the tariffs are bad. But the reality of the situation is tariffs are bad for multinational corporations. Tariffs are not bad for the long term for the middle class. It's actually beneficial for the middle class because it's going to bring manufacturing back. Now, someone would say, oh, it's going to cost $3,500 or $12,000 more for a vehicle to purchase. And it takes 2 years to maybe bring back the manufacturing for some of these sub-assemblies. All right, so you don't buy a car for the next 2.5 years. Big deal. Or someone says, I have to have a new car. Well, you can buy a used one. You don't have to buy a new one. And this puts pressure on GM and Ford to start moving manufacturing back to the United States. You stop buying their vehicles, and I guarantee you they'll drop their price more than $3,500 or $12,000. The power is in the purchaser. That's where the power is. So GM's going to raise their prices to $12,000 on an over-optioned vehicle that you don't really need. All right. And consumers say, well, I'm just going to hold off for 2 years and not buy anything. But let's say you have a lease on a vehicle or an older car and you need to upgrade. All right. Get a new vehicle. Get a used vehicle, not a new one. That way you're saving money, and it puts pressure on Ford and GM to lower their prices on their new vehicles. And when the middle class in the United States does that in mass, GM and Ford, I guarantee you, will move as fast as possible to move manufacturing back to the United States. But they want you to think that tariffs are bad for the middle class because your vehicle is going to be more expensive. Well, just stop buying their vehicles. Buy vehicles that have more content in the United States. Or better yet, buy a used vehicle and just wait it out and force the issue and make sure the OEMs start to lower their vehicle prices. Because when they have a lot of vehicles that aren't selling, they have to cut. And they'll cut more than 8 or 12 grand on the sticker price.
But we're going to decrease the U.S. content. That's an abuse of the social contract that they had with the American people when we rescued them from destruction not even 10 years ago.
Exactly.
David Malpass, by the by, the stock market did not crash today. So that's something. I mean, I don't know that this is an earth-shattering, earth-ending event. Couple stocks got shaken up, as I said. Last time I looked, GM was the worst of it, and Tesla was the best of it. But it wasn't the usual, what do they call it, tariff tantrum on Wall Street. What do you think about that, David?
The markets price in, and you know this better than all of us, the details of what's happening, and they do it company by company. So from an earnings standpoint, the market is saying this is not a disaster. Can I make other points? One is regulatory reforms in the U.S. are going to be critical to enabling all of this to happen, and also the energy production in the U.S. So I think it's really important, and the market will watch how quickly you move on the positive side as you change the supply chain. And then what we haven't talked about enough, China, the problem of China, they use an aggressive industrial policy that's particularly apparent on electric vehicles, where they are trying to steal the whole market. And then they've changed their strategy, and they're doing foreign direct investment into Mexico, which was not envisioned in the USMCA when it was negotiated in 2018.
Yeah,
so I think we've got lots of areas to work on as President Trump moves really fast to fix some of the problems.
I mean, look, I must say, Chairman Hill, I really agree with Trump about making this more of a manufacturing economy. I mean, I totally agree with that. It may take 10 years to do it. I think the guy's on the right track. I'm not afraid of the tariff weapon. I have full confidence in him as a tariff negotiator and so forth. But I do worry that the trade policy is a little unpredictable right now. I mean, I don't know if reciprocity is dead. That was the title of my riff. I'm asking that question. This doesn't strike me as particularly reciprocal. And I just kind of, look, I was in favor of the universal ring around the collar. I was, because it was kind of like a value-added tax, and it would have raised a whole lot of money that I could use to cut everybody's taxes and get Steve Forbes' flat tax at 15%. I was in favor of all that. But this one seems like in and out, up and down. I'm just not sure what. I have no idea. What do you think is going to happen on Wednesday? What's he going to tell us?
Well, I hope that he gives clarity on the strategy. Because all the points that we've made tonight, the trade policy is right. You can use it for a sanction threat. You can use it to open up new markets. You can use it to compel behavior, like in India, to have a much more reciprocity-oriented trade policy with the United States. You can use it as a way to compel more domestic manufacturing. But all three, and they're complementary, but they're not the same weapon.
Right.
They have to be used selectively. And like in steel and aluminum, pick within steel and aluminum what you think is the most competitive place and where we should shore up production and target that rather than an across-the-board basis. And I think we'll begin to see that clarity. But to your point about uncertainty, I'm not concerned about that in the markets, but I am concerned about it in planning to complement our deregulatory work, our tax work that we have ahead of us, because that'll produce the growth economy of the next few years.
So that's just my last hook. He always reads my mind. This is like a 30-year long playing record. You look at the tax cuts, both 1.0 and 2.0, I'm going to call it $5 trillion worth. It could be more than that. You look at the deregulation, I'm going to call it up to $2 trillion to roll back Biden. So let's say there's $7 trillion of supply side incentives to cut taxes and deregulate. That vastly is larger than the tariff story, which people seem to continue to obsess about. So I think people should keep their powder dry on this. Let's see what Mr. Trump has in mind for us next week.
Well, one of the things that will be absolutely important if we are going to make this reshoring of American auto parts happen is the tax cuts.
Right.
That 15% tax cut on both capital equipment and factories that we've talked about many times.
Retroactive.
We need that if we're going to be able to build our industrial.
Yeah, he's right next to you. Give him hell. Give him hell. Get it done fast. That's right.
Well, we are moving fast, and we need to move fast, which is why Mike Johnson and John Thune need to get our budget reconciliation plan to both the Senate floor ASAP.
Actually, the mood music coming out of those talks is it was good approved. Yeah, no, I like it. Even I like it.
I'm telling you, the economy is going to roar with bringing back manufacturing and lowering taxes. And it's going to set a whole new renaissance in manufacturing in the United States. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotics. I have it in a powdered form or a veggie cap form. These are very high quality probiotics. I take them every day. I prefer the powdered version because I take all these different powders, like the Boomer Boost and the collagen and the lignans and the Gladiator barley. So please go to my store, get the probiotics. This is very important for the gut biome, to bring down inflammation, to improve your food absorption, to have a better communication between your gut and your liver and your gut and your brain. You'll be able to concentrate better. You'll be able to have more energy because you have better absorption. You're going to lower that inflammation. You're going to improve the gut biome, improve that mucosal lining, and improve your concentrations in IgA, which is an antibody that's within your gut. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the probiotic. Also, a good gut biome, you're going to notice that your hair, your skin, and your nails are improved. So please go to my store and get the probiotics. That's really important to take every day as a great foundation to move forward in improving your health. Another great stack that I want to show you to improve your immune system and your overall cellular processes is taking vitamin C and magnesium with magnesium and zinc. You can take them separately, but you can take them together and you get a dual benefit. This is going to help boost up your immune system. Also, vitamin C helps with your skin, especially when you take it with collagen and drink it with filtered water. So when you're taking vitamin C and zinc and magnesium together, drink it with filtered water because they're water soluble. Please go to my store and boost up your immune system. Now, another thing to stack this with is the multivitamin. The multivitamin has the vitamins that you need for the proper enzymatic activity that you need. Now, people don't know this, but minerals and vitamins are cofactors for enzymatic activity. So if you have the right concentrations, you're going to improve your enzymatic activity in your cells, and your cells are going to perform better, and therefore your tissues are going to perform better. So get the multivitamin as a great foundation for your health. This is an easy to digest multivitamin. Go to the store and take a look at the label on the different vitamins that are in this. But this is a great way to start, and then you build on top of it. A great way to build on top of it is, okay, you're taking the multivitamin, take the probiotic that's helping with your gut health, and take the vitamin C and the magnesium together, and that's boosting up your immune system. So that's a great stack right there to move forward and get healthy. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the multivitamin, get the zinc and the vitamin C and magnesium, take them together and boost up your immune system and your overall health. All right, let's want to take a look at CNA to see if they have anything good playing at the moment.
Uber Eats is delivering more deals, so you can get more food to watch more basketball. Right now, get a buy one, get one Whopper from Burger King. And a buy one, get one KFC.
Costing Indonesia billions per year.
CNA is not playing anything good right now. CNA is not playing anything good right now. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at let's see. Pam Bondi was on Fox News. This was published about 29 minutes ago.
Joining us now to discuss all of this for the first time on the angle, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. General Bondi, it's so good to see you. How did you find this guy, and how long has he been in the United States?
He has been in the United States for probably over a decade, but we believe he was recruited in middle school. In middle school, can you believe that? In middle school, but he's been living here illegally with
friends and family, and the Biden administration did absolutely nothing to deport these people. Here, as the president says, we didn't need new laws. We needed a new president to fix this. And today, with Governor Glenn Youngkin and a task force, we started it February 25th. And in less than a month, they have captured so many of these MS-13 gang members. Laura, their techniques and what they were doing with state, local, federal partnerships hasn't been done.
But people are watching this tonight, they're saying, how on earth could this have happened? Not only this, which was significant, obviously 24 years of age, very young and very vicious. Then you have these people in Massachusetts that ICE has rounded up, these child predators and rapists who, excuse me, Mayor of Boston and the governor of Massachusetts, like, oh no, we're tough on criminals. These people are just walking about the streets free as a bird until you guys actually got them.
They are.
It's insane.
They are. So this task force is DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals working with ICE, all working hand in hand, sharing data. And that's how we were able to catch this guy. One of the agents said, if you want to rock MS-13 to its core,
I want to just pause. I want to just pause what
that shows how.
I just want to pause Fox News, and I want to go to live now here. They were interviewing Musk.
This is happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help with their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of DOGE, will receive more Social Security, not less. I want to emphasize that. As a result of the work of DOGE, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true. Let's check back on this in the future.
So it's Washington Post. The Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled veterans from logging into their online accounts. Freaked people out. Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah, I mean, but is it a result of going in there or something you're doing?
The amount of issues that were because the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people that are over the age of 120 that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yeah, correct. Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem. Again, pre-existing problems since 2008, at least, from an IG report. So there were some great people working in Social Security Administration that found this 2008, and nothing was done. And so 15 to 20 million Social Security numbers that were clearly fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use this for good intentions. And so one of the things the DOGE team is doing is carefully and very methodically looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brett Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid, NIH. What are you finding?
Yeah, well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH as an example, today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures.
It's a good idea.
Another example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems. They can't speak to each other.
So they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
You said 27 different chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
And when I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers can't talk to each other, you can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security. So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from preventing research from happening, that are extremely vulnerable to fraud, and we're fixing it.
And does that include AI? Does that include kind of changing the system overall? That's, I guess, what people are afraid of, is they don't know what this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long term?
It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do, is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future. And you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the DOGE team plans to streamline some federal job.
Okay, so I wanted to show you just a little bit of that snippet of that long interview that Brett there did with Elon Musk and his DOGE team there back on live to the White House. We'll have a little bit more of that interview later on tonight. So let's take a quick.
I'm going to go back to Pam Bondi here.
He was one of the top leaders, and he was living half an hour from where we're sitting right now, living among us.
How did he get that high up in the organization if he's only 24 years of age? You know,
he's been in it for a decade. A decade. This guy has been in MS-13.
Think he's murdered anyone?
I think he's probably been involved in murder. More to come on that. They found letters. They found writings that show he was one of the top leaders for the whole country, showing MS-13 cliques, which mean gangs, spread throughout this nation. Again, we took one of the worst off the streets today. Americans are safer because of Donald Trump.
When can we expect federal charges, and will you try to deport him to the Supermax prison back in his home country of El Salvador?
Yes, we will try to deport him to El Salvador. Let's send him home. That's where he belongs. You know, he belongs back in that El Salvador prison, and that's where he should go. But you're gonna see a lot more charges on him. He had illegal firearms, of course, 4 to 5 guns. He was living in a middle-class neighborhood.
Did he go to school in that area?
He did when he was younger. He went to school there, which is where he was recruited. And you know what? These schools have been trying to protect kids from law enforcement.
And that's still happening in the United States. That log jam has to be broken, because they're acting in some cases, not all, but in some cases, with the help of some religious leaders as sanctuaries from you and the FBI and the DHS.
That's right. Kids are being recruited in middle school. They're 13 years old, 14 years old. Yet these schools will not let law enforcement officers in there to educate kids about how horrible gangs are. No longer will that happen. Governor Youngkin and I are going to work together on that, and we are going to get into these schools. No longer will these schools be keeping law enforcement from children, trying to help them.
There was this other MS-13 character, Cesar Humberto Lopez Larios, many names. He was arrested on terrorism charges last year, but then CNN is reporting that, I guess it dropped days ago, that he was back to El Salvador, sent back to the Supermax prison. But is it a mistake to have sent him there? I think there are a couple instances where maybe they weren't supposed to be sent there.
We have the people who have been deported, who are being housed in El Salvador, should be there. 261 people total went on that plane, and that's 261 reasons why Americans are safer tonight.
What are you going to do about these nationwide injunctions, and what is your message tonight to Congress, specifically members of the U.S. Senate and House, but who Republicans and Democrats who like to leave town on Thursday night, tonight, and they leave, and they're going to be
Why did it stop? I don't understand why sometimes the audio breaks up here.
It's all of his nominees confirmed to be in office for public safety reasons, for all of the reasons we've been talking about. There are so many nominees that we have to get confirmed. But we have a lot coming up, and we've got to get them in office to help keep America safe.
I think Thune's trying to do his best, but they have to have unanimous consent from the Democrats in order to fast track these. And because Schumer's under attack from the left, he's like, I'm not giving you a thumbs up on any of these people. So it's having to go through this laborious process. But if you keep people through the weekends, let's say you know this town, you keep people through a couple weekends, what does that do to them?
They cave.
They break.
The Democrats break, and Republicans are tougher. We know that. Senator Finn's been great.
Let me just plug a couple products here. Please go to my store and get the toothpaste. This is a very high quality toothpaste. Actually, it's the best toothpaste that you can buy. It's made from structural nano silver, no fluoride. It will whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, help with your oral hygiene, improve your gum line, reduce the inflammation at the gum line. And with good oral hygiene, you're helping with your vascular health and your valvular health. Please go to my store, get a few tubes of this toothpaste, help support my work, and help support your health. Again, this toothpaste is the best toothpaste that you can get. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off. Also, I have structural nano silver drops and lozenges. We're going into the allergy season. It's really important to take these right away. Have some at work and have some at home, just in case you start having an issue. You can get it in honey and lemon. Each of the drops have 100 per bag. Cherry drops and also blueberry. And you can get the lozenges, which are larger. You get 21 in each bag. You can get it in Manuka honey and also in elderberry zinc. All right, so please go to my store. Get a few bags of the lozenges and the drops. Make sure you have some at home and at work. You never know when you're going to have that irritant. And take it right away, mitigate the problem. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off.
He's been fabulous, but we've got to keep people here. We've got to get people over.
What's happening with this Las Vegas Tesla criminal who he was arrested and now federal charges have been filed against him? This was something that was needed given everything we're seeing happening to those dealerships and those cars across the country.
That was remarkable police work, working with the state police, our FBI. They have been going nonstop on this case. This guy is in custody. Laura, he is facing 5-year minimum mandatory to 20 years in prison. And this was great police work. This guy thought he got away with it. So these people better look out. They better cut it out because we are coming after you. And at my direction, there will be no negotiating on these people.
No,
we are seeking 20 years in prison. They are setting off bombs, the huge fires. Look what you're seeing, huge, massive fires. In residential neighborhoods, at charging stations, someone is going to get killed. A citizen is going to get killed, and these people, we are not doing any plea negotiations on them. Well, so they better cut it out.
We have some information about the groups that he belonged to. This individual. Let's watch.
But a preliminary assessment of the suspect. Listen up. If you've been injured in a recent car accident, what you do next can make or break how much money you get. Here's the biggest mistake I see people making after a car accident: talking to insurance.
But a preliminary assessment of the suspect's social media activity indicates some very loose but self-proclaimed ties to the Communist Party USA social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communist International, Hidden Palestine, Palestine Action, and a variety of other social media groups.
I mean, this is like a cliche of every left-wing communist, socialist, Hamas.
Right. We are looking at, in all of these cases, every aspect, we are not going to leave a stone unturned.
So the messages are going out, people, Madam Attorney General, from these groups. Get busy. Get busy, meaning terrorize people. People are terrorized driving down the road in a car that they worked hard for. They feel terrorized.
They do. We're looking at how these people learn to make these bombs. We're looking at every aspect of these cases, and we are coming after you, and we will find you if you have done this to a Tesla owner, a Tesla dealership, anything to do with Tesla. We're going to find you. And that today was proof of it.
Judge Beryl Howell is an Obama-appointed district judge, I believe in the District of DC, District of Columbia, and is extremely upset at what he thinks is a series of attacks by the DOJ on the judiciary, saying, when the DOJ engages in this rhetorical strategy of ad hominem attack, the stakes become much larger than only the reputation of the targeted federal judge. This strategy is designed to impugn the integrity of the federal judicial system. I guess the DOJ lawyers wanted to remove Judge Howell from the case, citing other what they believed were biased comments. Your reaction to Judge Howell tonight?
We do. Many judges need to be removed. Judge Howell included, Judge Reyes, Judge Boasberg. These judges obviously cannot be impartial. They cannot be objective. They are district judges trying to control our entire country, and they're trying to obstruct Donald Trump's agenda.
And Judge Boasberg is a busy judge. He was assigned to the Signal Gate, which is such a ridiculous name, but the Signal Chat case, which is a lawsuit filed by parties, which I'm not sure they have standing to file, but President Trump calls it disgraceful that this judge, again, who's ruled against you on the Tren de Aragua deportation, is now assigned to the Signal case.
Yes.
Your reaction tonight to that?
Laura, he has multiple cases. I guess it's a wild coincidence against Donald Trump and our administration. And now he has the Signal case. He shouldn't be on any of these cases. He cannot be objective. He's made that crystal clear. And these judges are taking personal attacks too at many of the cabinet secretaries and these judges across the country. Again, they think they have authority, but it's going to be short-lived because these cases are going to get to the Supreme Court very fast. We're doing everything we can.
The CNN is their Ellie Honig. That sometimes is fair, but mostly biased. So you always have to open up a Signal Gate investigation at DOJ. Watch this.
So Pam Bondi has been MIA. There's no indication that she's going to open an investigation here. And by the way, when she was up for a confirmation as AG, you remember, one of the concerns is, would she be able to exercise independence? She told the Senate, absolutely, I will be completely independent. There's no reasonable prosecutor who could look at this and say it doesn't even need to be investigated.
Your response to your pal there?
Yeah, there's a reason why the ratings are plummeting, because they're putting people like that on TV. Chatter. We could care less what they say. We're going to continue forward on all of these cases.
So this is not a concern of yours, Inspector General, idea of Inspector General investigation or congressional investigation down the road. You are completely confident that this was a mistake and nothing more than that.
We are, and all of our intelligence officials who were on it are confident of that as well.
I mean, do you not know how many Democrats that I know over the years have been on Signal? I mean, at the highest level Democrats, and is that changing the government now, though? Is Signal not going to be used, or is it going to be used going forward? Are you aware of it?
I think Signal is a very safe way to communicate. I don't think foreign adversaries are able to hack Signal, as far as I know.
And maybe people just have to keep an eye on their contact list a little bit more carefully going forward. Attorney General Pam Bondi, you were up at what, 2?
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the K2. This will help with the D3 to absorb calcium. Now this stack right here, the K2 and the D3, it will help to absorb the calcium, but also slow down the depositing of calcium around plaque. All right. So this stack will help with bones and cardiovascular. All right. So take this every day. What's going to happen? Let's say you want to increase your bone structure. All right. Better bone density. Take the D3 and the K2, take calcium or drink milk, do some resistance training, and you will be building denser bone. All right. But also by taking the D3 and the K2, you're slowing down the depositing of calcium around plaque formations. And over time, slowly pulling that calcium out of that plaque formation and reducing the actual blockage. All right. So this helps cardiovascularly and also bone health, especially when you're doing the resistance training. Now to boost up the cardiovascular health, taking nattokinase is going to break up those clots. Now, when you have blockage and a buildup of plaque, the actual flow through the blood vessel is there's turbulence. And what happens is that the clots either microclots or larger clots can form. You need to take the nattokinase to break up those clots because it's fibrinolytic. Also, to reduce plaque buildup, taking nattokinase will help because it's going to help bring down the LDL and increase your HDL levels. So by having less LDL in your bloodstream, you have less LDL that's oxidized. And less oxidized LDL means less plaque buildup. So take the nattokinase, take the D3, take the K2 together, and this is a great stack to help with your cardiovascular health, but also your bone health, because the D3 and the K2, when you do resistance training and you take calcium, either through supplements or drinking milk, you are going to improve your bone density. But you have to do the resistance training to give your body that signal to build that bone matrix. Another great stack for neural health and neural protection is taking ubiquinol and NAD+. So ubiquinol is the most bioavailable form of CoQ10 that you can take. So I offer the most bioavailable form of CoQ10. You can't buy something better. Now, ubiquinol will help to improve your energy levels. It's an antioxidant. It's going to help to improve the health of your mitochondria, but it also protects neurons. And it's an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals. So this is going to help protect your neuron. NAD plus supplement will boost up your NAD plus levels, and that will help with energy. It'll help to repair your DNA damage, cellular DNA damage, or mitochondrial DNA damage. So that's really important, especially when you get older, because when you get older, you have more DNA damage. Well, higher levels of NAD plus is going to help you repair that. Now, NAD plus also helps to protect neurons. So this is a great stack to protect your neurons. That's really important when you're 40 years of age or older. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the NAD plus supplement that I have that boosts up your NAD plus levels, and get the ubiquinol. Protect those neurons, really important. All right. Let's go to, I want to go to CNBC, the agent session, just to listen in here on what's going on.
To be a really successful memory manufacturer, right? SMIC can survive in China, around domestic demand, but for YMTC, they've been doing very well in like more commodity standard memory, which goes into phones and PCs. So that's been impressive. They've been at it a long time. However, the question is, can they really feed that AI supply chain, which is really mission critical right now in China? And that's a likely no. There you're getting into very sophisticated stacking of memory, very high-speed DDR5, and it's really one major player right now with Micron playing catch-up, and Samsung is a legacy number 3. So you have these three very strong global players in memory for decades with tons of IP. Even they are seeing a lot of challenges in getting that high bandwidth memory out the door for the AI servers.
And so what impact do you see of reciprocal tariffs on the development of advanced chips and also the trade relationship China may have with Taiwan, especially TSMC?
Yeah, so as it relates to global semis, so at various levels to that question, right? So as it relates to global semiconductor demand, the current cycle, this has the China economy has a big impact on global demand, as do, of course, tariffs. So I think we're entering in a risk of a semiconductor downturn here, instigated by kind of low growth in China, lack of visibility into the tariff policies, a slowing U.S. economy, which really is, the global economy has been a one-horse story so far since last year. To really have a very robust, true semiconductor cycle, you need a couple major reasons, China and the U.S. being pivotal, to really drive a broader demand, where it's affecting mobile phones, PCs, and the like. So far, it's been very, very concentrated And I think we're also seeing a risk of downward revisions to, even CapEx if in fact the US economy slows. Then clearly that'll affect enterprise spending in AI and therefore the CSP revenue and their cloud services business. So we do run the risk here of this very concentrated growth market now leading more into an oversupply in semis over the next 3 to 6 months.
Danny, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us yours.
Okay, I'm going to go to Sky News to see what they have to say, but let me just plug this product stack here. To help with your immune system and your cardiovascular health and your mental acuity, try this stack out. Ashwagandha root is going to bring down cortisol levels and help to control your blood glucose levels. So that's going to bring down inflammation and help with the vascular level and your immune system. By bringing down inflammation, you're helping your immune system. Turmeric is an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals, but also bring down inflammation. That's important for your immune system, and that's very important for your cardiovascular system. Stacking these together is going to help your immune system and your cardiovascular system. By bringing down inflammation at the vascular level, you're reducing the chances of plaque formation. Now, also stack this with Clarity Factor. Clarity Factor is going to help you get rid of that brain fog. It's going to allow you to focus at work or at school, or if you're retired, it'll help you just to have more mental acuity. Your neurons are going to be firing more, and this helps with memory. It helps to support your memory, all right? By having those neurons firing more, you're going to build positive neuroplasticity. That means you're going to think better, you're going to be able to consolidate memory better, and you're actually going to sleep better, all right? And you're just going to function more. You'll be able to concentrate. You're going to be able to be more fluent in your speech. You're going to be able to write better. Your overall cognition is going to be better, right? And it's really important to get rid of that brain fog. Now, a great way to do it is the proper supplementation, like the Clarity Factor, but also make sure you drink filtered water. A lot of the water that you're getting from the tap, it's got particulates in it that's not good for you, right? So it's very important to filter your water, but also stay away from foods that are over-processed, because these processed foods have lots of chemicals and it affects your neurons, your endocrine system, your immune system, your other bodily systems. You just want to stay away from that stuff. Take Clarity Factor. It's going to help support your memory, get rid of that brain fog, and by concentrating and learning new things, you're going to be able to improve that neuroplasticity. When you improve that neuroplasticity, you're going to be able to think faster, you're going to have better memory, you're going to sleep better, and your longevity. The whole idea is to improve your body, so when you get into your geriatric years, you're just healthier to the best that you can. So a great stack to help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system and your neural health and your neural networks is to take this stack right here. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the ashwagandha root, the turmeric, and the Clarity Factor. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order.
Meeting with officials internationally speaking, as was Christine Nolan today. Remember, she's the Department of Homeland Security Cabinet Secretary. She is in Latin America throughout the course of this week here. She's visiting El Salvador yesterday. Today, Colombia. Tomorrow, Mexico here. But in the meantime, actually, we just got something live. Speaking of Trump cabinet secretaries traveling internationally, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, well, he is now in the Philippines. We just got this live picture in. Let's listen.
Our hero.
sorry to see that happening. We're staring that you won't see nothing except the inside of the building and some offices. That runs
The audio with the Philippines is not that great. So let's go to Sky News here.
Now becoming clear. Trade wars are no good for anyone. It will end up with higher prices for consumers, pushing up inflation after we've worked so hard to get a grip of inflation.
And Keir Starmer accuses Vladimir Putin of playing games as leaders discuss how to enforce a ceasefire deal for Ukraine. Hello, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. We begin the programme with a developing story. The King has cancelled his public engagements later today after he experienced side effects from his cancer treatment. In a statement made late last night, Buckingham Palace said following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer, this morning the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. His Majesty's afternoon engagements were therefore postponed. His Majesty has now returned to Clarence House, and as a precautionary measure, acting on medical advice, tomorrow's diary programme will also be rescheduled. His Majesty would like to send his apologies to all those who may be inconvenienced or disappointed as a result. Well, our royal correspondent Laura Bundock has the latest.
Now, we've been told that he is back at Clarence House, that he's on good form. He's carrying on with state business, looking at the paperwork and able to make calls from his study. But it is unusual for him to cancel engagements, especially this busy day in Birmingham, which, as we all know, will have been meticulously planned for some time. That said, the palace is very keen to stress that things are going to get back to normal very quickly, that he will be back as normal next week. And as for that upcoming state visit to Italy, which is due, in the not too distant future, it's going to have no effect on that. We all know how much the King enjoys his work, and he definitely won't be happy letting people down. Many have said along the way that his work is actually what has helped him get through his diagnosis. Aides very much describing this as a bump in the road, and that his general progress is absolutely heading in the right direction. But I think the fact they decided to make this announcement does show that it was of some concern, and it is a reminder that he's a 76-year-old man who is still a cancer patient, and with that facing all the uncertainty and all the unpredictability that this disease can bring.
Laura Bundock there. Now, trade wars are no good for anyone, the words of the Chancellor, as tariffs imposed by Donald Trump threatened to wreck her plans for the economy and potentially result in the loss of thousands of jobs. The day after the spring statement, Rachel Reeves insisted the UK would not retaliate to the 25% tariffs put on all cars imported into the US, despite the strong evidence that extra levies would have an impact, stunting economic growth and wiping out any savings made through welfare cuts. The levy is due to come into effect next week. Our economics and data editor Ed Conway has this assessment.
Usually the day after any fiscal event, you're talking still about that fiscal event, but here the stories flip back to this overarching issue. Tariffs, Donald Trump, what's going on there? And the Office of Budget Responsibility, in that update on the state of the economy, they did give a sense of what the impact of a trade war might be for the UK. This is their growth forecast that we've just heard about. Have a look at how it changes in the event of a trade war. So if everyone is imposing tariffs on everyone else, these bars are basically halved. So economic growth is essentially halved. It is much smaller than the expectations right now. And you've got higher inflation as well as that, and the impact on public finances. That headroom goes away. And right now we're learning more about what Donald Trump wants to do next. So this comes back to cars. Again, this is a chart that he really does not like. It shows you US car exports over the years, going back to the 1960s, and imports. And the key thing here is that import line is far higher than the export line. And the difference between them, well, that is the trade deficit. The US sucking in more goods from overseas. In the case of cars, it's rather a lot, which is why he's raising those tariffs. But that raises a question. How high are they going? At the moment, there's different categories here. At the moment, it's 2.5%. That's what's known as the most favoured nation tariff rate on cars. So on top of that, you're going to see an extra 25%, taking really to quite a high level. But it's more than that, because it's not just the cars, it's also the components inside those cars that are going to be charged as well. That's going to be fiendishly complicated, but another 25% potentially goes on them. Then you've got light trucks. They are already charged at 25%. That goes back to the 1960s. It's called the chicken tax. The US basically didn't like the fact that Europeans didn't want to take their chickens, and they imposed a tariff on light trucks. So on top of that, you're going to have this extra 25%. So it mounts up. But God forbid, if you're making EVs in China, electric vehicles, look at this. So already you have 100% tariffs from Joe Biden era. On top of that, there's another 20% that Donald Trump's imposed on all Chinese imports. You've got another 25% on any country that's importing oil from Venezuela. And then finally, that 25% that we've just heard about from Donald Trump, tot it all up, and you're talking about over 170% tariffs. It's extraordinary, really. Light trucks, 50%, and then components and cars at 27.5%, which doesn't sound like much anymore, but it is a lot. It is a lot, and it's going to be a big impact for all those countries sending cars to the US. And on this, Mexico, Japan right at the top. But look, the UK is actually the 6th biggest exporter of cars into the US. But despite these tariffs, Rachel Reeves says she won't retaliate.
We're not at the moment in a position where we want to do anything to escalate these trade wars. Trade wars are no good for anyone. It will end up with higher prices for consumers, pushing up inflation after we've worked so hard to get a grip of inflation, and at the same time, it make it harder for British companies to export.
The Chancellor there. The US is actually the single biggest destination for UK car makers, meaning this is likely to have a big impact on the UK economy quite soon.
Well, in another blow to the UK economy, the Chinese owner of British Steel has announced that it is planning to close its 2 blast furnaces and steelmaking operations in Scunthorpe, putting up to 2,500 jobs at risk. Our North of England correspondent Katerina Vitozzi reports.
Scunthorpe has had steel in its bones for more than 100 years.
The largest and greatest steel plant in the Commonwealth started from 2 small furnaces built here.
Thousands of jobs depend on the operation of these blast furnaces. Jobs today, workers learn, may no longer exist in a matter of months.
Extremely shocking, because up until now I thought there was an opportunity where we presented a multi-union plan. That plan transitioned everybody. It cost a lot of money. There's no denying. It would have made a significant investment from the government, match funded by GE. And we thought they would look at that, but that's not been the case.
British Steel is the UK's last remaining producer of virgin steel, a high-grade, pure steel that's carbon intensive to make. The UK government has been in talks with the company's Chinese owner, Jinye, about moving to greener steel production, offering a taxpayer-funded £500 million to support the transition and keep this plant's blast furnaces open in the meantime. That deal now in tatters.
We haven't got an agreement as it stands, but it is a very, very challenging situation. I mean, both in terms of, it's not just about the level of resource, and I've got to make sure there's the right level for the taxpayer as part of that. You know, obviously I need to know that there's a viable business being created at the end of that. I need guarantees on jobs if I'm putting public money in.
Today's announcement by British Steel highlights the difficult road ahead for the future of UK steel production. On one hand, the UK government is trying to support industry to preserve jobs and secure UK steel production. On the other hand, it's trying to meet its ambitious net zero targets.
British Steel says the government offer is not enough. It says new US imposed tariffs and current market conditions make it impossible to keep these furnaces open. 2,500 jobs would go with them.
Throughout the town, it's going to have a massive impact. You know, it obviously affects everybody really. You know, from every small business, including myself. You know, but you know, you don't know what's going to happen.
Pretty good, to be honest. You know, good for the young guys. Yes, but it's not good. Sad day, really. It's funny.
If the government can't bring British Steel back to the negotiating table, it will mean the abrupt end to the UK's virgin steel production, a technique invented here during the Industrial Revolution, leaving the UK the only G7 nation not to make its own. Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News, Scunthorpe.
Well, the Prime Minister has described the tariffs as very concerning, but did not rule out retaliation. Our Chief Political Correspondent John Craig has this analysis.
Well, tax rises in the autumn look even more likely than they did 24 hours ago after the Chancellor's very controversial spring statement. Now, we heard the PM there, he was in Paris meeting other European leaders and talking about Ukraine. We heard him say all options on the table, we've got to defend our national interest, all options on the table. Well, earlier, as we heard in Ed Conway's report, the Chancellor seemed to rule out any retaliatory moves by the UK against the United States, although the PM did acknowledge that he doesn't want a trade war. There's plenty of evidence just how damaging a trade war and tariffs will be. This is the gloom-laden document that was published by the Office of Budget Responsibility alongside the spring statement. And it states very clearly that if Britain were to hit back and there were to be any sort of trade war, that would wipe 1% of GDP growth. And the prospects for growth are pretty grim as we stand already. So, and we've also heard from Scunthorpe about the steel crisis there. Of course, tariffs are a factor there. If UK lost its steel making capacity, that means steel has to be imported from abroad. That creates all sorts of financial consequences as well. So the problems are piling up for the Chancellor and indeed the Prime Minister on the economic front. And tax rises or more spending cuts in the autumn are looking more and more likely.
Well, we've heard about the impact of the tariffs on the UK, but the changes will also lead to turmoil for global car makers. Sky's Europe correspondent Siobhan Robbins reports from Zwickau.
At this factory in East Germany, they're pumping out a parts. Millions of pieces destined for the country's mega motor industry. When it comes to cars, America is Germany's biggest customer. Bad news with Trump's new 25% tariffs.
Such tariffs would be very hard. It could make companies decide to move into the US market, in the US, in the United States itself, to produce there. And
that's what we want.
Matthias's factory sits on the edge of Zwickau, a city where the car is king. Volkswagen is the main employer here, providing 10,000 jobs. Building vehicles is in their blood. Now more than 100 years of history are at risk.
If you want to understand how key the auto industry is to German identity, think mining to the UK in its heyday. Around 700,000 people are employed in the industry, which generates almost 550 billion euros a year.
At the City Museum, they're celebrating their pioneering past amid an uncertain future.
Even nobody in the US will buy a German car, or less people will buy German cars, it will have impacts, of course, because we need the high numbers of building cars here.
High energy and labour costs and competition from China meant the German car industry had already been cutting jobs. At this Zwickau restaurant, they fear fresh pain from tariffs will hurt the whole community.
Volkswagen is the biggest employer in Zwickau, the main source of money for people who live there. And if they were to disappear, then people won't stay in the town anymore.
As car makers,
This is the point I was making about the economic clustering. And because America has been shipping jobs overseas, our economic clustering is weakened. So now it's about time for their economic clustering to be weakened. So I don't feel bad for these other countries, not at all. They've been living high on the hog for the last 35
members
years.
of government have all insisted the information was not classified. But what do voters make of it? Our US correspondent James Matthews has been finding out.
2 months in, a time to put Washington in the rearview mirror.
Donald Trump is trying to do. You don't know that the Chinese and Russians are on your phone? The world is now safer because of that mission.
In the parts of the country that made Donald Trump president. How does that chime now?
I'm impressed with the agenda.
I don't support it in any shape or form.
I'm okay with it. I honestly don't feel like he really cares about
the American people.
Caroline County is Trump country. This place in rural Virginia voted for a change of president.
There's so much disinformation out there.
Change is what they got. What do you make of the Signal app story?
In my opinion, it's a non-story compared to some of the misgivings of the previous administration.
Right.
It's still a big story.
Not to the extent that that it has the effect on our safety.
It just goes to show you where putting the wrong people in power positions is not a great idea. That's all I'm saying.
But she thinks it's okay. But she thinks it's okay to put brain dead Biden in the office, who almost started World War III. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work, because where else are you going to get this plethora of knowledge? Structural nanosilver gels, either in the tube form or in the quick dispenser form, it's dual purpose. It'll help to heal your skin from an abrasion. You can use it as a skincare, a daily skincare. You can use it as an aftershave. And if you're not feeling well, or someone around you is not feeling well, at work or at home, put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your eyes, around your nose, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils. It stays active for 5.5 hours. This is a dual purpose product. You should have some of this available in your house at all times, or even at work at all times, because you never know when you need it. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the structural nanosilver gel in the tube form or in the quick dispenser form. Very high quality, dual purpose. Now let's talk about a stack that's going to help with your musculature, your cardiovascular health, and also your immune system. Olive leaf extract will bring down inflammation. That's going to help with the cardiovascular health and your immune system. Olive leaf extract also brings down LDL levels and helps to improve your HDL levels. That's improving your total cholesterol, and therefore you have less LDL that can be oxidized to cause plaque. So take olive leaf extract every day to help your immune system and your cardiovascular health. Myotrol is a supplement you should be taking that helps gene expression to maintain and build muscle. It has flavonoids, polyphenols, and lignans to help with that gene expression that you need to build muscle. Do some resistance training, take the Myotrol, build the muscle that you need. This is very important, especially when you're 40 years of age or older, because when you get older, you start to atrophy. So you need to do resistance training. You need to take the Myotrol to do the gene expression. It couples really well with gladiator barley because that's a high density protein. And if you're an athlete, younger or older, taking Myotrol is going to help you recover from your workout and to get those strength gains that you need. So you can take this if you're an athlete, younger or older, or if you aren't an athlete and you're 40 years of age, taking Myotrol is going to help build the muscle and reduce the atrophy. All right, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and stack this. So you're helping your cardiovascular health and your immune system, and you're helping your musculature. Please go to my store, use discount 5, all caps, discount 5, and you get $5 off anywhere.
Currently represent just over 1% of all automobile sales. Riyadh Air, a new long-haul airline launching in Saudi Arabia later this year, is expected to make a final decision on its fleet of aircraft very soon, a top company executive told Sky News recently.
Well, we are still in the plan and process of this campaign of choosing our next iteration within our fleet. We started off with.
I want to go back to what's going on with
from the president as well. I want to put that up on your screen. This is what he said on his post via Truth Social. We have it here. I'm going to read it in full as well. So he said, as we advance our America First agenda, it is essential that we maintain every Republican seat in Congress. We must be unified to accomplish our mission. And Elise Stefanik has been a vital part of our efforts from the very beginning. I have asked Elise, as one of my biggest allies, to remain in Congress to help me deliver historic tax cuts, great jobs, record economic growth, a secure border, energy dominance, peace through strength, and much more. So we can make America great again. With a very tight majority, I don't want to take a chance on anyone else running for Elise's seat. The people love Elise. With her, we have nothing to worry about come election day. There are others that can do a good job at the United Nations. Therefore, Elise will stay in Congress, rejoin the House leadership team, and continue to fight for our amazing American people. Speaker Johnson is thrilled. I look forward to the day when Elise is able to join my administration in the future. She is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Elise. That's the full post on Truth Social from President Trump, as we're hearing his reaction again from earlier today, deciding to pull that nomination that he had put up, Stefanik, for the United Nations. Of course, again, we will continue to follow the story here on Live Now from Vox as we find out who's going to be stepping into that nomination, who else the president has his eyes on to take that position within his cabinet. All right, we did want to bring that to you here on Live Now. Let's step away for a 2-minute break. On the other side, more of today's top stories.
I mean, thin margins in Congress, and it's really important that they pass a balanced budget and they pass the taxes, the tax cuts. But that's going to be, the tax cuts is probably going to be later in the year. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Boomer Boost. This is the 4th pillar of the core protocol. This will boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. You're going to lose weight and you're going to get healthy. It has 68 nutrients. It's very comprehensive. All right. And go to my store and take a look at the label carefully. But you should be taking this every day. And there's a big scooper in here. Take it once a day, either for your breakfast or for your lunch. This is supposed to replace your breakfast or your lunch. Mix it with soft foods like yogurt or hummus or applesauce. You can put it in a smoothie, just filtered water if you want, or even milk. But take it every day as your breakfast or your lunch. You're going to save money because this is cheaper for a month's supply than the cost of your breakfast or lunch every day for a month. But you're going to lose weight and you're going to have energy. And that energy is going to last throughout the whole day. It's going to be a nice, slow burn of energy. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have better mental acuity. All right, you're going to be able to think better. You're going to be able to sleep better. This targets multiple systems. It targets your vascular system and your heart. It also targets your musculature. So it's going to help with strength and your muscles. And it helps with your brain function. So when you're boosting up your energy levels and improving your metabolism, your overall body is going to be performing better. And so within about 72 hours of when you start taking this, you're going to start having that energy level, that extra vitality, and you're going to want to do things. You're going to want to work out. All right. If you look at a young child or you look at a puppy, it has lots of energy. It's running around, right? Like a 2-year-old's running around or a young puppy is running around. It's because it has lots of ATP, and its metabolism is very fast. All right. And it's building, it's anabolizing. All right. Their bodies are anabolizing. By taking Boomer Boost, you're mimicking that by revving up the metabolism. Your cellular processes are going to be better. Your tissues are going to perform better. Your organs are going to perform better. That means your immune system is going to be better. Your endocrine system is going to be better. Your mental acuity, your brain function is going to be better. All right. And you're going to have all this ATP and this revved up metabolism. So you're going to have more vitality. And you will see this taking place within 72 hours of starting Boomer Boost. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Take the Boomer Boost every day. If you're an athlete, take this as your pre or post workout, and you're going to get other strength gains. Now, it is important to also couple. You can take the heirloom barley or the gladiator barley by themselves because they're high density protein. You can take a scooper or a half a scooper a day. Take it the same way you take the Boomer Boost. And you can just take this or just take this. Take the Boomer Boost or just take the barley, the heirloom barley or the gladiator barley. But it works better when you couple them together. All right, why? Because the barley helps to detoxify your body. It helps to soak up those free radicals with superoxide dismutase. It's going to reduce inflammation. And by reducing inflammation, you're helping your immune system and your cardiovascular system. Now, the difference between the heirloom barley and the gladiator barley is the gladiator barley does everything that the heirloom barley does, but it also helps with strength. So by taking Boomer Boost and heirloom barley or gladiator barley, you're also going to be able to control your A1C levels. That means you're controlling your blood glucose levels. Many people have problems with glucose in the United States. So you want to solve that problem? Guess what? Take the Boomer Boost and take the heirloom barley, but better yet, you control your A1C levels even more if you take the Boomer Boost and the gladiator barley and you work out. Now, when you work out, do resistance training, do cardio, do stretching, and do balancing exercises. All four of those modalities are important for your body. Take the Boomer Boost and get the barley, either heirloom barley or gladiator barley, stack them together, take it every day, either breakfast or for lunch. You will lose weight and you're going to get healthy very quickly. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, let's listen to the House Minority Leader speaking about Stefanik's withdrawal.
Ponzi scheme. Project 2025 is the Ponzi scheme. Republicans are defrauding the American people. Last year, Republicans promised that they would drive down the high cost of living and ignored Project 2025, lied to the American people as if it didn't exist. This year, Donald Trump, the administration, and Republicans in the Congress have done nothing to drive down the high cost of living. Costs aren't going down, they are going up. Inflation is going up. America is becoming more expensive and less affordable.
I mean, the rhetoric from the Democratic Party is just very little substance. Do you know that the inflation, now Trump has only been in office from January 20th, and it's now March 27th. So you have February 20th, that's 1 month, March 20th, that's 2 months. So he's been in office for a little bit more than 2 months. The inflation that you see is primarily because of the Federal Reserve screwing up in 2024. They read the inflation data wrong. The Treasury Department read the inflation data wrong. Remember when they said it was transitory? And the Federal Reserve lowered rates when the unemployment rate was below 5%, and they lowered rates when the inflation was above 2%. That's a no-no. Because when you lower rates when inflation's high, and you lower rates when unemployment is low, that's inflationary through monetary policy. So the inflation problem that we have isn't because of Trump. It's because of the Federal Reserve fucking up in 2024. But the Democrats, this person here that's representing, I don't even know what state that he represents, but he's supposed to know it. He knows what's really going on. If someone is telling you that inflation isn't caused by the far majority of the inflation that we're seeing in the United States, the tariffs are barely in effect. It's not because of the tariffs. It's because of the monetary policy by the Federal Reserve under the Biden administration, and Chair Powell screwed up in 2024. He should not have cut rates. If anything, he should have shocked the system and raised rates when they found out that they were reading the inflation data wrong. But he knows better. He knows better. You know what he knows? He knows nothing. He's all bullshit.
In terms of the cuts that are harmful and painful that they want to inflict on the American people. And then you've got Republicans in both the House and the Senate.
Oh, so DOGE can't do cuts in government because it's going to harm people. But so so the converse of that is it's okay to run a government that's inefficient and waste taxpayer dollars, which actually is inflationary because you have to print more money to run the inefficient government. There's nothing wrong with fiscal spending to help the economy, but it depends on how you spend it. If you're spending it and wasting the dollars, it's not adding productivity to the society. When you help with infrastructure, it's moving the society faster, goods and services between states is improved. Imagine if we had high-speed rail between East Coast and West Coast. And let's just say theoretically, you can go from, let's say, from New York to LA in 4 hours. Don't you think that that would speed up commerce between the East Coast and the West Coast? And also help with travel and vacationing and all that? The society would be more productive. Now take the other example, where you're wastefully spending on a bloated bureaucracy that's inefficient. Don't you think that's inflationary? But this guy knows it all. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. You can get it in MCT coconut oil, avocado oil, or extra virgin olive oil. C60 is a carbon molecule. It's 60 carbons. It looks like a soccer ball. It's called a fullerene. And it has to be suspended in a lipid, an oil, to be able to absorb it properly. Take it on an empty stomach for best absorption. If you work out, take it before your workout. It's going to soak up those free radicals and help you to recover from your workout quicker. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. And it's going to soak up those free radicals, boost up your energy levels because it's going to improve your mitochondrial health. And when your cells have less stress and have more energy, they're going to perform better. And that means your tissues are going to perform better. That means your organ systems are going to perform better. Your endocrine system, your immune system, even your brain will perform better. Why? Because by reducing the stress in your neurons, by soaking up those free radicals and improving the mitochondrial health in your neurons are going to produce neurotransmitters and fire off those neurotransmitters more efficiently. And that means you're going to have positive neuroplasticity. So when you start to do these different modalities for working out, because when you build when you're working out doing resistance training, you're activating a certain type of neuron. When you do stretching and balancing, you're activating different types of neurons. When we're doing cardio, you're activating other types of neurons. So doing exercising not only helps with your overall health and musculature, but you're activating different types of neurons, especially balancing, helping with that cerebellum. And then if you're learning new things and you're talking to people, you're going to have that positive neuroplasticity when you have healthy neurons producing those neurotransmitters, and you're going to have better memory. You're going to think faster. And not only that, you're going to sleep better. Now, a great stack with C60 is resveratrol, even clarity factor, or ubiquinol or NAD+. So stack C60 in many different ways, but the key here is a very potent antioxidant. This is the most potent antioxidant that you're going to be able to buy. C60 is extremely potent. One molecule can soak up hundreds of free radicals compared to one molecule of vitamin C. You can only neutralize one free radical. So take a teaspoon a day, every day. And you're going to start noticing that your energy levels are better, that your systems in your body are performing better, your neurons are performing better. Some people also see improvement with their eyes. And not just that, you're going to start seeing that you're aging slower. Now, do this for 1 year and write a journal of how it's improving your systems, and compare it to someone that you know that's roughly the same age that's not doing it. And what you're going to notice within 1 year, that you're going to radically look much younger compared to the individual that's not taking it. All right, so take C60 every day. And it's part of the anti-aging protocol that I keep on talking about. Take the Max 35 or Max 14 to boost up your immune system. Take the C60 to soak up the free radicals and slow down the aging process. The third pillar is to take the turmeric, the ashwagandha, and the lignans to help with the immune system by bringing down inflammation. And take Boomer Boost to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. I am the most comprehensive on the internet, on YouTube, that's telling you how to stack this stuff to improve your health and to slow down the aging process. And I'm not just talking about it, I do it myself. And if you've been watching me for the last 5 years, or even if you've been watching me even before the crisis of 2020, you've noticed I'm not aging. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? I'm not a vampire. It's because my protocol works. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5 and get $5 off. You can get this in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. It is cheaper per ounce to get the higher ounce configuration, but it's up to you. Some people can't afford it. I understand. I try to stack these things as many different ways as possible to target your different systems so you can get healthy and still afford the protocol. But the thing is, it works. All right. Now you listen to the other people out there, they're looking like they're getting older. Like, you know, the celebrity docs that you've been listening to for the last 5 years. Compare me 5 years ago and now, and compare them 5 years ago and now, and you tell me who looks like they've aged. My protocol works. The proof is in the pudding. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. That's the end of my transmission. Thank you for listening. I'll do another one tomorrow. Thank you for the ones that are on X Spaces listening in. I have this X Space simulcast. If you want to ask questions on my shows, please do. And thank you very much for the ones that have been watching the live stream on YouTube. Have a good night and be well.